there's a movie coming out, Beetlejuice. They just did a big presentation for it at CinemaCon. They brought the whole cast out except for Jenna Ortega, who was off filming something else at the time. But, Michael Keaton came out, Tim Burton came out, all that kind of stuff. And they talked about, Michael Keaton said straight up, this is the most fun I've ever had making a movie. He said, I've never had more fun, all that kind of stuff. Now, I admit, I am not a giant Beetlejuice fan. I like the original Beetlejuice. Just like everybody did. I like the original Beetlejuice, but it's not one of those movies that for me endured as like one of the great classics. But whatever, but I'm still in a thumbs up or a thumbs down world. I am thumbs up on Beetlejuice, but I've never really understood like the crazy passion there seems to be for this movie and the excitement that got generated with people when they announced that they were doing a sequel. I'm like, okay, I personally think it's 20 years too late, but whatever, it's coming. Here's the thing though. That initial enthusiasm that came out when they first announced it, that has not died down. And at CinemaCon, that audience, that 4,000 people in that, they went crazy for this. And I got to admit, I didn't really like the trailer they put out, but the footage they showed us at CinemaCon looked pretty good. And I thought, all right, maybe this could do all right. Maybe $50 million opening weekend. Well, Deadline has just put out what their projection is for the opening weekend of Beetlejuice. Now, I thought maybe it could come in somewhere around $50 million. They're saying, not Campea, double that.
Sheesh.
At Deadline, they're saying this. It very unshockingly, talking about Beetlejuice, could deliver a 100 million plus opening, possibly toppling the month's all-time biggest opener, It, from Warner New Line, which debuted at 123.4 million. So they're saying this thing could make up to 125 million on its opening weekend in 2017. If the Avengers movies could jumpstart summer early in late April, why can't Beetlejuice extend it? All right. So we've got Deadline here calling $100 to $125 million opening, maybe breaking the month record that It holds at 123 point something million dollars. Rob, I have to admit, I never would guess. I wouldn't personally guess that Beetlejuice makes $100 million opening weekend. But I'm hearing a lot of people very enthusiastic. Deadline seems to think this thing can get over 100 million, maybe even up to $125 million opening weekend. How big can Beetlejuice be on its opening weekend? And how much are you looking forward to it?
Well, Beetlejuice was really, I think, the film that told the world who Tim Burton was. All of the design work, his work with Rick Heinrichs, it emulated what he'd done in animation. I mean, it really was, of all the movies Tim Burton's ever made, I think Beetlejuice is the one that most defines him in my mind. And Beetlejuice was a pretty big cultural phenomenon. I mean, everybody was singing Day-O.
Yep.
And people love that movie. People still talk about Michael Keaton's performance. They still quote him. Look, I think Beetlejuice is right up there with the original Ghostbusters.
Really?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it even had a different audience, the same audience that likes Neil Gaiman's spin-off character Death, or who likes the movie The Crow. It's a goth comedy. Mm-hmm. And I think this movie is going to be huge. If, again, with the caveat, if it's good. Michael Keaton also said he'd seen some of it and thought it was great. I think this movie's going to be monster. I think it's going to be a huge hit. I think it's got, 4 generations or 5 generations of people that love it. I never thought I'd ever see a sequel to this movie because they've been talking about it forever. And you might be right. It might be 20 years late. But I do think that this movie, Michael Keaton in the role of Beetlejuice, hasn't looked like he's changed much. I think this movie is going to be a monster hit if it's good.
What about you guys? Like Jonathan or Ray, for either of you, like has Beetlejuice been a movie that like Ray or Rob is comparing it to Ghostbusters?
I mean, yeah, as a kid, I loved it. I always looked forward to that dinner scene you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And it's not one of my favorite movies, but it is one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. I think I put Edward Scissorhands above it, but it might be my second favorite Tim Burton film. It might be.
I've seen The Exorcist 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every time.
Ray, has Beetlejuice ever been a big thing for you?
No, not for me. Like I did like the intro because it was like a little miniature set, and
Yeah.
I always liked that part. But that's what 5 seconds of the
I
movie.
mean, that Danny Elfman score, come on.
Oh,
and,
the Danny Elfman score is pretty
So
great.
good.
Yeah.
and then when they pull their faces apart, it kind of terrified me. But the last scene, I will admit, that's where I actually would watch it through. Like if it was always on TV. If I caught it at the beginning, I'd watch that little part where he runs off the road or whatever, runs the little car.
There's people forget there's a lot because like the way Rob was just quoting Michael Keaton, there is a lot of one-liners in that
A
movie.
lot of them. I mean,
And by the way, one of the things they said at CinemaCon was they wanted to make this new movie as much like the way they made the first movie. There's going to be a lot of, some of it's going to look cheesy as a result, but they're going to use a lot of practical, plastic, real, physical effects in this movie too.
And let's face it, there's a lot of people just had babies recently, kids. It's going to be their first exposure to Beetlejuice, so they have that too going for it. If he could catch this generation like attention,
Like a Gen Z kind of thing.
yeah. If it could catch on like with them, this movie can make that much.
You know,
I don't think it will though. Opening, no.
I haven't thought about the original Beetlejuice, but now that I'm thinking about it, the movie, it's really good. It's a really great movie. I mean, I keep thinking about just these set pieces. It's just the scene where they're sitting in the hospital waiting room or whatever, or the death waiting, and the sprinkling the dust on the shrunken head, and it gets smaller.
Oh yeah,
and smaller.
that
I mean,
part,
Mr.
was so funny actually.
Mr. I in the chat there, his quote, that's the quote I was dying about thinking to myself, right? Nice effing model. He kicks it.
That's
It's
I
true.
keep forgetting about that part where his head shrinks. That was
Yeah.
actually
It was so
visually
so
funny.
Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Harry's. You know, guys, in order to start the John Campea Show, I had to leave my high-paying corporate job in order to set myself up to be happier and enjoy more personal success. Because sometimes to get what you want, you have to challenge the status quo and blaze your own trail. And that's exactly what the folks at Harry's did. You see, at Harry's, they saw customers getting ripped off by questionable products in the shaving industry and decided to do something better. Harry's decided to pave their own road by making beautifully designed razors for a fraction of the price of the other big brands. Exceptional products, honest prices. That's Harry's. I have fallen in love with Harry's, from their foaming shaving gel that feels just luxurious on the skin to their incredible razor that feels just as good in the hand as it does going over your skin. They've got rich, lathering, skin-softening body wash in scents like redwood, wildlands, and stone. You see, Harry's provides German-engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer. You can get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. Don't settle for the status quo. Blaze your own trail with Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. That's harrys.com/Campea for a $3 trial set. All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? First of all, how much are you looking forward to the new Beetlejuice movie? And do you believe, like Deadline does, that this movie can actually crack $100 million in its opening weekend, maybe even as high as $125 million, setting the new all-time record for the month? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show Podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.